Hey everyone, welcome to our next episode of Creature Features, and we're here again with Little Ray's Nature Center. So, Kevin, are you there?
Sure, I'm here.
Hi, Kevin, how
Hey, good
are
morning, Megan. Hi, Science North.
you? Thank you so much again for doing this really fun kind of partnership we've got going on. It's our fourth episode. Can you believe it?
Yeah, it's awesome. I'm loving it.
I'm so excited. So, my name is Megan, and I'm here on site here at Science North today on the traditional and ancestral lands of the Atikameksheng, Anishinaabe, and the Wanapate First Nations. I've also acknowledged the Métis Nation for their contributions in this area as well. These lands sit in the Robinson Huron Treaty area, and as we are all treaty people, it's important for us to be thinking about the treaty area that we live in and are an active part. So definitely take a moment today to appreciate the land that each of us are on. So Kevin, I am really excited because you have some creepy and misunderstood animals for us today, right?
I do, and and
Uh,
and, and some pretty fun ones, some pretty interesting ones. And when we're talking about animals that people are afraid of, that people have some serious fears or phobias about,
Perfect.
and everybody has fears. I mean, I'm sure you're afraid of stuff there, Megan. I
Yeah.
mean, for me, I'm terrified of the dark. It's not really creepy crawlies and snakes and stuff that bother me, but I'm very scared of the dark. Um, and I guess people do have reasons for having these fears.
Absolutely.
But that being said, the animals that people are afraid of still play very important roles in the any healthy ecosystem,
Right.
right?
So Kevin, we're going to talk a lot about that sort of theming today. So if anyone who's watching today wants to share what they're afraid of, maybe there's a creepy crawly out there that makes you a little bit like, oh, or if you have any questions for Kevin or myself, please don't hesitate to pop them in the comments, and I'll make sure to work that into our conversation today. And as well, don't forget to like and share and subscribe to all of our social media channels, and definitely check out Little Ray's Nature Centers as well. They're very active on their social media as well. So definitely ask some questions. Share with us some of your fears. So you shared yours, Kevin. So just in fairness, I will share you mine. And you may remember this, but it's earwigs.
I do remember.
I'm still terrified of earwigs.
I was going to work that in to our presentation because I do remember that. I do remember that, and I mean bugs in general, right? Just bugs in general. A lot of people do find them kind of creepy crawly, freaks them out a little bit. If you walk into the bathroom at night and there's an earwig in the sink, I mean, some people might not appreciate that as much as some other people. But walking into the bathroom late at night, I mean, there are other insects that are living in people's homes, pretty much living in every ecosystem around the world. Something that everybody's heard of before,
Oh,
something that everybody is familiar with, and it's cockroaches, right? I don't think everybody is a big fan. I don't think we could say that everybody would be a big fan of cockroaches. And I do have just a little one here, and it's actually not even that little. This is a very large species of cockroach found in Madagascar. Okay, so just off the coast of southern Africa, the Madagascar hissing cockroach. Now, when we're talking about bugs and insects, I mean, they're some of the most important life forms on the planet
absolutely.
because it's the smallest organisms are much more important than the big organisms or the biggest life forms on the planet. So let's really quickly here, for example, let's say we went into the oceans, and if this is all hypothetical, of course, but if we went into the oceans and removed all of the giant mammals, if we removed all of the whales from
Yeah.
the ocean, what kind of an impact would that have on the Earth as an ecosystem? I mean, it's gonna change. Things would change. Things would adapt. The planet would adapt. I'm sure populations of animals in the oceans would increase. There would be more of them. Um, but I think the planet would adapt and continue on as it has for millions of years. But what if you were to remove it? Let's stick with the ocean here for a second. Remove all of the plankton from the ocean, microscopic living organisms. If we did that, this is the bottom of the food chain. You remove the smallest life forms from an ecosystem, it would only be a matter of days before the planet began to actually die.
Yeah.
So, like to some people, it's just a bug, it's just a cockroach. But even mosquitoes play a very, very important role. And no, nobody likes mosquitoes. I mean, they're fascinating. You have to think when it comes to mosquitoes, that's pretty much the main diet of dragonflies.
Yeah.
And I absolutely love dragonflies. I think everybody does. So yeah, you're right. We don't like mosquitoes, but without the mosquitoes, well, we wouldn't have dragonflies. And then they just keep going up that food chain.
Yeah.
But when it comes to the, oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
That's okay. Most invertebrates, right, are at the bottom of like pretty much any food chain that you can think of. There's an invertebrate at the bottom of it, right? So and everything sort of goes up from there. So that's where the energy starts. And of course, it starts with plants for the most part, and many invertebrates eat those plants. So
that can kind of take me to my next point. Of the smallest insects, or the insects that are out there, and not just insects. I mean, also things like fungus and mold and bacteria. But we're talking about decomposers now.
Yeah.
Right. Like the plant material that dies, or animals that pass away in the forest. I mean, they don't just sit there untouched to rot away with the oxygen. The decomposers, like a cockroach, will come in and feed on dead plant material, dead animal material. And the decomposers, when they do that, well, they eat it, it passes through their system, they poop it out. And that the cockroach poop or decomposer poop actually provides all types of nutrients,
right,
to the plants. And if you were to remove the decomposers from an ecosystem, let's say from the forest, for example, well, the plants wouldn't get the proper nutrition, the proper nutrients that they actually need. So decomposers like worms and beetles and cockroaches and fungus and molds, bacteria that breaks this stuff down, and it's quite the chemical reaction, actually. Like, I mean, it can provide oxygen, and it provides nutrients, it provides new soil. And we would like people to look at it. Yeah, I get it. Okay. It's a cockroach. I know it's weird. It's weird. Can I maybe see if we can freak anybody out a little bit?
Let's do that. But we also have a question too. So let's do. Is doing it?
Do I have a question?
Oh yeah, sorry. The question is why do you think that people find insects so creepy?
Well, it's like, I mean, it's just a funny thing, right? I mean, why can't I go in my basement at nighttime because it's too dark? I know that there's nothing down there, and I think it's just like, I don't know. Is it the quick scuttling?
Maybe.
Right? You turn the light on, they're scuttling away. They're trying to get out. They're and when they're doing that, they're obviously afraid of whatever's coming in there, and then turning the light on. But maybe it's the 6 legs or the 8 legs or the no legs.
Yeah.
Or just misunderstanding, right? Just not understanding how important and how important they are to the ecosystem. But not only that, Megan, I mean, if we look at cockroaches, ancestors of cockroaches go back over 300 million years. And if we go back, just let's say like 180, let's say 160 million years ago, if you look at cockroaches from about 160 million years ago, they look pretty much like this. They are virtually unchanged, which kind of tells you that it's just a perfect design of evolution. Yeah. So everybody's got their thing. Right?
I think too that there's, especially with some insects, especially with cockroaches, and that there's like an assumption that that they're associated with dirt or being dirty, or
Oh yeah.
that, that there's disease or something
Yeah.
like that, which is an assumption. It's a preconception that we're taught, that it's like fear, right? It's like you're taught to be afraid of certain things, and we're taught a specific, like, to think of them negatively just in general. So, and they're not, like, they're just animals living their lives.
And just like behaving naturally, their natural instinct. If people think of them as dirty, think of them as actually they're cleaning. They're cleaning the environment. They're cleaning the ecosystem. They're providing oxygen and nutrients and a food source to other animals as being part of. But I don't want to eat up all of our time here. I could talk and talk and talk about insects all day long. I mean, at like 4:30 this morning driving in, I was listening to CBC radio, and they were talking about what an important food source for humans that
Right.
insects are becoming now, and not just for humans, for like livestock. They're creating new foods for our food that we are going to eat, right?
Absolutely.
But before here, let's just take a look. If you guys liked that cockroach, there's a few more.
There's a few more, just a few.
Madagascar hissing cockroaches.
And they do hiss, right, Kevin?
Oh, I don't know if the speaker on my laptop is good enough, but absolutely they do. Here, can you hear that? And they're expelling air. It's kind of like a. You're not gonna.
No, it's a
bit
little
of a
too faint,
defense
but they
thing.
do. I can assure everyone that they do, in fact, hiss. Actually, somebody commented, Kevin, that they're actually sort of afraid of butterflies. So it's not just the cockroaches that get like that, but some, it's very irrational, really. So yeah.
I have met so many people with that same fear of butterflies, but also, I mean, anything. Frogs,
why?
worms, fish. It's.
Why do they hiss?
It could be anything.
Why do they hiss? Yeah.
It would be like a defense mechanism, kind of like just making a sound like, hey, get on.
Get away.
Leave me alone. You know? You want to see something else?
Yeah. Let's see another animal.
Okay. This is pretty cool. Okay. And I mean, I did just mention this, and we're going to see if we can get a good view of this girl here. We did just mention this. I have met, running exhibits at, the Butterfly Conservatory in Niagara Falls. I saw people run out of there screaming on a daily basis. I've met people who are afraid of fish, who are afraid of snakes, who are afraid of frogs. Okay.
Oh my gosh.
This here, I'm going to pick her up so you can actually see how big she is.
Oh,
there are a lot of people. Look, she's about the size of my face.
Yeah.
There are a lot of people out there that do have fears and phobias when it comes to frogs and toads.
Yep.
I wonder where that would come from. Now, I know when I was a kid, Megan, and I'm sure you've heard this before as well, because I still hear it today. Like, oh, don't touch the toad. Don't pick up the toad. It's going to give you warts on your hand.
Yeah.
Well, that's going to create a fear. People don't want to actively go out and try to get warts on their hand. So they would try to avoid it that way, right? Maybe it's the quick jumping, right? The way that they move, the big hop and the jumps, or the big long tongue.
Yep.
That comes shooting out to grab the insects that they eat or other animals that they eat. And when it comes to cane toads, I mean, you can see the size of this big girl. They'll pretty much eat anything that fits into their mouth.
Right.
Including other frogs and toads.
Right.
Right?
They can even eat like small mammals, right? Like
absolutely they can. It's actually it's part of her enrichment program to mix up her diet and give her an adult mouse every once in a while.
Nice. Somebody actually said so cute.
Well, it's all perception, right?
Yeah.
Like for me or for us, we love snakes. Not everybody does. Some people thrive climbing to great heights Other people's don't. It's all perception. It's all individual, right? I think she's adorable.
I agree. And if you're talking about frogs in general and amphibians in general, they're really important indicator species, right, for the environment they live in. So can you talk to us a little bit about what that means, Kevin?
How can we even have the time to talk about how important amphibians are, right? Frogs and toads. Can you get me a thing of hand sanitizer, please? Frogs and toads, how important they are. And that's an excellent point that you make, Megan, is that they are indicator species. Now, what that kind of means, can you still hear me okay?
Yes, yep.
So when it comes to being frogs and salamanders and newts and toads and stuff like that, the big difference between amphibians, well, not the big difference, the big difference between amphibians and reptiles is the way that they're born, right? Where a baby snake looks like a baby snake, a baby lizard, a baby turtle looks like little mini versions of their parents. When it comes to amphibians, the toad does not start off as a little toad, right? It starts off as an egg in the water, becomes a tadpole, grows legs, grows lungs, comes out onto the land, begins their second stage of life, which is really where the word amphibian comes from, the two Greek words amphi and bio, right?
Yeah.
Double life. That's the big difference between reptiles and amphibians. But also a very big difference is their skin.
Right.
When it comes to reptiles, they're covered in scales most often. Those scales are hard. It's like fingernail. It protects them. But when it comes to amphibians, like a toad or a frog, they have like really soft, kind of porous, semi-permeable skin. Like they can absorb. So I mean, their skin is so like it's so easy to absorb stuff that they even absorb oxygen. They actually like they breathe. They can absorb so much oxygen that they actually breathe through their skin, and so much so that there's some amphibians. And I mean, here in southern Ontario, we have red-backed salamanders.
Yeah,
red-backed salamanders are lungless. They don't have lungs. They breathe. And correct me if I'm wrong, because I mean, there's lungless salamanders out there that breathe 100% through their skin. So now imagine with all of these frogs and salamanders and newts and toads in an ecosystem breathing through their skin, imagine even the slightest change, whether it's temperature change, something into the water, something in the air. Any tiny little change is going to affect amphibians before most other living animals out there. So if you start to see a decline, if you go to a swamp, and I'll tell you, I remember being a kid and I'd go to a swamp, and with every step, there's like a dozen frogs jumping every other way. I go to the same places these days, and I'm lucky if I find one or two, and it's such a sad thing, but that is an indicator of what's going on, not just with that environment or that ecosystem, but the entire planet as its own ecosystem. So if you start seeing changes in amphibians, you know that there's going to be more coming, that this is going to have a much bigger effect, a bit of a chain effect. So we look at them as an indicator species because they indicate so much.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know that observation you made about going to a wetland now compared to when you were a child, like I think that's global, right? Like if you look at the research that many scientists are doing on amphibians globally, they're finding a decrease in populations worldwide. So that is definitely an indication that, you know, something is going on. And of course, we understand and we know climate change, obviously pollution, all of these things are affecting all animals, but we see it and we've seen it sort of happen in amphibians. We do have a couple of questions. Okay. So one of them is from one of our local schools here in Sudbury, from Llewellyn Park Secondary School. So hey guys, thanks for watching. They're asking, why is this particular toad so big?
Well, I mean, Now that's going to, I suppose that would depend on who you're going to ask, or what type of scientist, whether you're talking about evolutionary biology. So really, I can give you my opinion. And I mean, they have grown so large. And I'll tell you, this is one of the most poisonous species of toads in the
Yes.
world.
Yeah.
Most animals cannot eat them. Almost all animals are unable to eat them. These big glands behind her eyes here, these are bufo glands, bufo toxin in there, enough poison in those glands to take down, well, an adult human. But I mean,
Yeah.
it's not absorbing into my hand. I would have to eat her. Okay.
Right.
So because the other animals aren't able to eat her, I mean, their populations would have grown. They just would have been able to evolve. They're able to eat larger animals as well. So the bigger animals that they're eating as they evolve over time, I
Yeah.
mean, their bodies would grow as well. And I don't think that I'm not really happy with that answer.
Well,
I don't know if you want to add something to that, Megan.
I think that it has to do a little bit too with the environment that they live in, that they're from. So cane toads, right, live in a tropical environment. So they're from South America, right? And so in that area, there's lots of food, there's no winter. And so animals can get quite a bit larger just in terms of resources. Where if you compare that to the American toad that we have here in Northern Ontario, they don't get as big. Now, our female toad is like, she's probably about this big. And in the amphibian world, many times the females are actually larger than the males, so which is kind of a cool fact. So a male cane toad wouldn't be as big as a female. And this one is a female, right, Kevin? You said.
I like your answer a
Yeah,
lot better.
and but our American toads have to deal with hibernation, and they have to deal with winter. So definitely being as big as a cane toad would be a little bit harder to hibernate to get through the winter. So that's awesome.
Before I move on to the next animal, just really quickly, like I mentioned, that most animals are unable to eat cane toads, and that's a fact. You can't.
Yeah.
They are very poisonous, but there's a lot of very smart animals out there, animals that have adapted.
Yeah.
And I know that you know how intelligent crows are. Crows will actually, they know not to eat the toad because it's poisonous. So a crow can actually flip the toad upside down.
Yeah.
And eat.
Just the insides.
It's not going to be this toad, but I mean, it's nature, right? Animals eat other animals. She can eat, the crow would actually eat through the belly of the toad. So avoiding the bufotoxins on the back that way.
And cane toads are toxic at every stage of their life cycle too, right?
Oh, yeah.
So
Yeah,
that's amazing.
absolutely.
Okay, do you have another animal for us?
I do. I have a couple more. I hope we have enough time for this.
Yeah.
Now, okay, like, this is funny for me, and you too, I'm sure. We're talking about fears and phobias and what people are afraid of, and the cane toad is super cool to me. The cockroach is absolutely fascinating, and this next animal absolutely is a huge fear. You see them in movies. I remember the movie Willard, and it gives you a hint of what this animal is going to be. But this is one of the cutest animals we have here, and it's a rat. A rat. Okay, we know how afraid people are of rats, and I wonder, and she's not going to sit still for me, I wonder what it is that makes people afraid of rodents, let's say, rats and mice, for example. Could be the tail, right? This big rat, hairless tail. When I ask people like, oh, what's so creepy about rats? I think that's the most common answer, is that skinless tail. But rats are absolutely fascinating animals. They have adapted to be able to not just survive, but thrive in pretty much any ecosystem, any type of environment found around the world. And they don't just coexist with people, they thrive with people. We
Yeah.
give them all kinds of food to eat, right? And I mean,
So
I would
adaptable. So adaptable. Rodents in
so
general. Yeah.
adaptable. But
Beautiful.
how can we not think she's adorable? Yeah, my goodness. The little beady eyes,
Maybe.
maybe, right? Maybe the little beady eyes.
Yeah.
But these guys, I mean, they're scavengers. They can find food pretty much anywhere. They can eat pretty much anything organic. Um, oh my gosh, can you give me some paper towels?
Did you just get peed on?
I may have.
Yeah, that happens.
It happens. It happens. The life of a zoology, right?
Exactly. Somebody is asking why her eyes are red, and on my screen they don't
They're
look
black.
red, but
yeah, they're super black.
They are black. Okay,
yeah,
so it could have been just a trick of the light.
Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I was going to say that it could have been just a bit of a trick of the light there.
Yeah.
That if you guys did see that the eyes were red, but often when animals have red or pink eyes, it is a sign that that animal or that life form has albinism, and which is a genetic mutation. So that is there are the reasons why the eyes could or could actually be red, but that does happen too.
No, I've seen it. I've seen that very, very, very often.
Yeah, for sure.
But I mean, if you were to study the life of a rat, I mean, they have they're social animals.
Yeah.
Right? They're highly intelligent. They live in groups, and if we're talking about, you want to talk about just really quickly, I don't like encouraging people to get pets or anything like that. Not pets aren't for everybody,
right?
And I mean. But let's say, for example, somebody had a pet rat.
Yeah.
Let's say, first of all, let's say somebody had a pet hamster.
Right.
Or a pet gerbil. Okay. I don't know if anybody out there has ever had a pet hamster or a pet gerbil that has gotten out of its habitat. I remember when I was a kid, my hamster got out and my dad had to set up like a live trap. And we just had to wait for him to go into this live, just made out of like a suitcase, a little platform, and suitcase closes. He's all fine in there until the morning. But that's what we had to do, right? Because the hamster isn't going to come and try to find you or want to play with you. But if you had a rat in the house, and a domestic rat, a pet rat, okay?
Right.
A pet rat.
Not a wild rat.
Right. It will actually seek you out. It will come and try to find you. Most likely come and find you, crawl up your leg and say, hey, how's it going? I missed you. I got out again. They're problem solvers, right?
Yes.
And I mean, this is why they're used in science so often, just because they are so highly intelligent and using them to run mazes and tests and stuff like that for all kinds of testing. They're just fantastic for that.
I really love how she's demonstrating her agility, just sort of like balancing in your arm, and the way she you can really see how she uses that tail. Although to some maybe a little bit gross, she's really using it to balance herself on your arm there. So that look at how beautiful that's awesome. You're doing a very good job demonstrating how great you are there, little friend.
This is Velveeta.
Velveeta, oh, beautiful name. Kevin, we have kind of a strange question. Do rats burp?
I don't know. I've never heard one, but I mean, thinking of science, how would it not be possible?
I mean,
I don't think they're going to be like my dad sitting on the couch watching football. Blah. Right. I think it's going to be like something not even noticeable to a human. But I mean, when we're eating and like when we eat, we are creating gas, just that chemical reaction in your stomach happening. There are gases that do build up. You also swallow air while you're eating, and it just kind of builds up. And if it doesn't come out your mouth, it's coming out somewhere else. No, I mean, they're mammals, right? They're warm-blooded. Yes. They eat all kinds of stuff. I would be shocked to hear that they don't burp, but I've never heard one, so I don't want to say, yeah, absolutely they do, because I don't know. How could they
That's a
not, though,
great
right? How
question.
could they not?
That's a great question. It's too bad we weren't playing our Stump the Scientist game that we sometimes do on
Time's
our
fun.
lives. Yeah, because I don't know.
They win.
Last question about our rat, Kevin. Are there any differences between the diets of domestic rats and wild rats?
Oh, yeah, I think absolutely, for sure. I mean, you want to give your animal the best, absolute best. If you have a pet, or an animal in your care, you want to make sure that they get the absolute best. And there's a lot of different foods you can buy out there. Different, like there's just so many brands. When it comes to what we feed our rodents, we use. I don't really want to. Oh, I use Missouri. Missouri is a brand. They
We
really
use
make
it here. We use
yeah,
it here. Thanks so much.
it's the highest quality. Our vet inspects our diet as well. Now, if you think about it, though, compared to a wild population of rats, if they're in the city, they're basically eating what we throw away, with garbage and like I mean scraps and stuff.
They'll forage on like the seeds and nuts and things that they do find, like acorns, and they'll forage on that as well. But that takes a little bit more work as well. And animals are they're smart. They're gonna go sometimes for the easiest thing. So if it's the scraps that you've left out in your garbage can, they might just decide to eat that instead of the other things in their environment.
Right. But I would have to say an animal in human care is going to eating what we provide them is going to have a healthier, longer life than they would have having to forage and find their food.
Right.
And I have seen, I'm close to downtown Hamilton here. I have seen some I have seen some rats around here that are bigger than any pet rat I have ever. It's like I'm talking like is that a beaver?
Oh my.
No, it's just a rat.
Oh my, that's intense. Okay, I think we have time for one last animal, Kevin.
I'm going to blow you guys away with this one.
I'm excited.
Okay? Now, we may have a little bit of a sound issue. I am going to have to change locations. I'm going to have to switch over to my phone.
Okay.
So it might be a little bit of feedback or something. We're going to do this as well as we can. And I'm going to run. Let's go for a little walk.
Let's go for a walk
Okay?
to the nature center. Let's do that.
For about 30 seconds, because right now, there, friends, what in the world? He's crawled inside this little decoration. There.
Inside the skull. Oh, very Halloween.
Of Halloween.
Way to go, Velveeta.
Can I switch over to my other device, do you think?
Sure.
And we'll see how that happens. How that works.
There are, while you're doing that, Kevin, I'll go through some of these comments because, we have someone commenting on the coloration of the rat. So that is she is very beautiful colored. Keeping in mind that especially when you're looking at animals that are bred in human care or that are bred for domestic pets, that they're not always kind of the wild type coloration. So I'm not sure you would find a rat of that particular coloring in the wild because they would stand out a little bit more. You would typically find darker colors or colors that have a little bit more modeling to them that allow them to camouflage and blend in. And that's sort of across the board for any animal, not just rats. It happens with snakes and other animals as well. Think about dogs and how we've bred all these varieties of different species. So, or not species, different breeds. So it's nice to go for a little walk with you through the nature center there, Kevin. Awesome. I know I'm really pumped about this last animal because I know what animal it is, guys. But it's definitely one of my favorites, and I'm so excited. Oh, the nature center looks so beautiful. Awesome. Thank you.
I think we have. Can you hold my phone for a second? Sounds like we have a group.
Oh, it's nice to hear though that the nature center is open. That's a brilliant.
Hi guys. Everybody say hi to Science North in Sudbury, Ontario.
Hi everybody.
You still with me?
Yeah, we're still with you.
You're with me still? I'd say when we look at the study of fears and phobias, the number one fear in the world is arachnophobia, which is the
I agree.
fear of spiders. But what's this fear called? Ophidiophobia? I think it's ophidiophobia. And there are so many people afraid of snakes. And I don't know if you guys, like, can you see? I can only face it this way. Can you try to get? Now, what is it? I'm curious there. Okay, so see, this is lemonade.
We can hear you. You're a little bit faint, but and the motion of the camera is a little bit sketchy. But that's
yeah. Try to hold the camera still. This is lemonade. Lemonade is 16 feet long. One of the largest snakes we have here in. She's a reticulated python, the longest species of snake found in the world. You find these guys in Southeast Asia. They hold the record of almost, well, about 10 meters or so. And what is it? I can't see. What is it? What is it that makes people afraid of snakes now? Right?
The slithering, the legless.
What is it that why are people afraid of snakes?
I think the
legless, they don't have any legs. The way they move, they kind of slither, kind of creepy, crawly. And then what are people always afraid of? Snakes doing? They're going to bite me. Why? That's what snakes do, right? Snakes bite. But I'll tell you, friends, I don't think snakes...
Somebody mentioned they can eat me.
Oh my goodness, no people as food at all. And I'll give you a quick example here. Everybody, a lot of people think snakes are going to bite. But almost every single snake bite on a human is on their hand or arm. And if you see a snake in the wild, if you leave it alone, it's going to leave you alone, I promise. A snake is not going to jump 3 or 4 feet off of the ground to bite you on your hand. I promise, leave it alone. Just like any other animal, it will leave you alone as well. But people still say snakes bite. If you see a snake in the wild, it's almost always trying to get away from the people. If you pick it up or catch it on, it thinks it's in danger and it protects itself. It will protect itself by biting, not because it's a snake. Right. Imagine if you could catch a squirrel. What do you think the squirrel will do? Will protect itself against people, not just snakes. These are one of the most animal kingdom and incredibly important parts of any healthy ecosystem.
So, Kevin,
this is my friend Amanda.
Hi, Amanda. You're breaking up just a little tiny bit, but we can see you and we can see Amanda and Lemonade in the background.
Nice. Wait. Okay. And then, any questions?
So we have a comment.
Can you hear me still?
Yeah, I can hear you. Yeah, we have one comment that says, I know that I am scarier to the snake than I am of the snake.
Cute. Nice.
And someone is asking, what does Lemonade eat?
And someone is asking, what does Lemonade eat?
So not like live rabbits.
Okay.
We just get frozen prey, rabbits, chickens, rats, mice, that sort of thing. It comes to us frozen. we
Okay.
thaw it out and then rabbits,
And what about wild reticulated
big
python?
rats a lot too. Wouldn't want to go and pick up a wild reticulated python like Amanda is right now. That would be very, very dangerous, but that goes for, like, I mean, any wild animal we should leave alone. And in the wild, reticulated pythons do spend a lot of their time in the trees.
Okay.
So they'll be eating things like birds, monkeys. They can take down much larger prey than that, but they usually up in the trees. They do sit up there looking down, waiting for things to walk by on the ground as well. So several different mammals. Monkeys and birds, I'd say, would be a huge part of their diet.
And they're constrictors, right, Kevin? They're not venomous.
You know, not venomous at all. And I mean, most snakes out there are constrictors. They do squeeze their food before they swallow it whole. And that would be all pythons, all boas are constricting species of snake.
Wonderful. Awesome. Okay, well, Kevin, thank you so much again for doing this creature feature with us. Oh, she's so beautiful. Hi, Lemonade. I'm so excited that we got to do this again, and I hope that everyone got to learn a little bit more about creepy and misunderstood animals out there. If you have any other questions, definitely pop them in the comments and answer them at a later time. But other than that, thank you, Kevin and Amanda.
Thanks, Megan. Thanks, Science North. See you guys next time. Have a safe Halloween.
Everyone. Don't forget to like and share, everybody.
Bye,
and
guys.
I'll see you next time.